Greetings, guitar fanatics. Here we are again, so welcome back or welcome to the channel, whichever one it is. I'm really glad you're here. You know, if you've watched many of my videos, that I'm all about providing guitarists with tools to help them play better, more expressive and creative guitar solos. I talk a lot about seeing music as a language. And one of the primary components of learning to speak a language well is to develop lots of vocabulary. When we compare that analogy to playing lead guitar, the vocabulary we develop are things like scales and arpeggios, which we creatively learn to mix up to create cool licks, which we can combine with original melodies to create cool guitar solos. I don't think we can ever have too much vocabulary or too many tools in our toolbox. And today, I'm going to show you a way to get the sound or flavor of a scale or mode without having to play that whole scale or mode. These tools are called melodic cells, and not only do they sound fantastic, but I bet you when you learn them, you're going to be able to understand the scales you already play a lot better than you do now. All this is about choosing the best notes to play, not just playing a bunch of notes. So we're going to get into it. I'd love it if you would subscribe to the channel and like the video. My name's Charlie Long. Let's play some guitar. So what are melodic cells and why the heck should you care about them? We guitarists spend a lot of time learning scales and thinking a lot about which scales and modes fit over which chords. But I want you to consider that when we break apart a scale and listen to the individual notes against a chord, not all notes are created equal. Some of the notes just sound better than others. And when it comes to getting modal sounds, for instance, there's one key note in each major or minor mode that makes it sound different, gives it its particular flavor compared to the other major or minor modes. Sometimes we hear players, and frankly, I do it a lot myself, just blaze through a scale pattern because we know it works over a particular chord or progression. But that's all we're doing is playing a pattern. We're not taking the time to create melodies that accentuate the best, the juiciest sounding notes against a particular chord. Or we're not accentuating the key personality note of a mode. What if, instead of just ripping through a scale, we were to break the scale down into small groupings of the best notes? The notes that really capture the essence and flavor of that scale. Well, that's what we're doing today, and we call those groupings melodic cells. The cells we play today are going to have 4 notes. There's going to be at least 2 chord tones in them, plus another note or 2 to add flavor. We're then going to be able to pick and choose, mix and match those cells to work over particular chords or progressions. We're going to be able to move them around the fretboard and use them as licks or bridges to other licks and melodies that we play. Let's get started by coming up with some major sounding melodic cells. Here we go. If we look at the intervals of the major scale, there are 7 pitches and we can give them numerical identifiers. Number 1 are the root, 2, major third, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and major 7th. To make things really easy today, we're going to use the key of C major. The notes of C major would then be C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Now, as you know, to get a C major chord, we play every other note of the scale starting on the root. So we would play the root, the 3rd, the 5th, or C, E, and G. Now, if we only played those 3 notes, it's called an arpeggio, and that sounds nice against a C chord because we're playing what are called chord tones. But it also sounds a little boring because we're playing just the same notes as the note of the chord. So it's going to be super important to add another note in there for some different spice or flavor, so we'll do that when we make our melodic cells. We're also trying to build cells that lay out nicely on the fretboard, so we'll concentrate on that too. Let's make our first cell, and I'm going to rely heavily on the number of the note or the interval in the scale here when I talk about it. We're going to start on the 5th, we're going to play the root, the 2nd, and the major 3rd. So the notes in the key of C would be G, C, D, E. So we've got our triad of chord tones, but when we add that 2nd in there, that one note makes us sound so much more melodic. It just flows. And check this out. There's so many things we can do with this little melodic cell. We can play it ascending, descending. We could mix up the order ascending or descending. We could do a little pedal point thing using the 5th or the G as our pedal point. Or we could even create little melodies like this one. So I just played the fifth, the major third, the root, the second, third, second, root, and back to the fifth. And it sounds really great. So in just a matter of seconds, I've already created 6 ideas we could play with this one melodic cell. And if we played around with the order of the notes, there are loads more that we could come up with. Not only can we play a bunch of different ideas with that one 4-note cell, we can also move it all around the fretboard. A great way to practice is to find the first note of the cell, which was a G note, on each string and play the pattern from there. We've got a G down at the 3rd fret of the low E string. Here's our melodic cell. We've got a G at the 10th fret of the A string. Here's our cell. G at the 5th fret of the D string. Here's our cell. G at the 12th fret of the G string. And G at the 8th fret of the B string. And this is really awesome. We can combine those cells and move them all the way up the fretboard. If I start down at the G at the 3rd fret of the low E string, I can play the cell in 3 octaves. Which sounds really awesome. And then you could jump off into a melody from there. I hope you can see the potential here. Let's try another major cell. What if we start from the root? The C triad would be C, E, G, that's our 1, 3, 5. Well, what if we add the F or the 4th in there to complete our cell? And of course, we can do all the same variations we did with our first cell. I'm not going to go through all of them again, but I do want to show you 2 lick ideas where we could combine cell 1 and cell 2. So over a C chord, the first lick would be to do our pedal point lick with cell 1, and then play it with cell 2. Add a little phrasing to that, and we can make this start to sound really good. Or what if we create a really long lick by playing one cell ascending through 3 octaves, and then descend 3 octaves through cell 2. Obviously, we don't have to descend or ascend all 3 octaves. We could stop and play some other lick anywhere along the way to make a statement. I'm just trying to give you some ideas, and you can take these things and do whatever you like with them. I hope you're starting to see the enormous potential of these melodic cells and how you can use them to start to build really awesome guitar solos. How about a couple of minor ideas? For minor ideas, let's keep things really simple and just convert our major cells to minor. We could do that by making the E note or the major third of our major cell into an E flat or minor third. Here's major, here's minor. So we've got the 5, the root, the second, the minor third. Here's a lick idea. If we were to bend that second into the minor third and play back down to the root, we'd have the basis for most of the melody lick of Gary Moore's classic, Still Got the Blues. Matter of fact, if I can move that minor cell up to D minor, so I move it up 2 frets, and then I'm going to play the major cell number 1 in C. Well, we can play Still Got the Blues all day long. How awesome is that? Our second cell, we had, when it was major, we had the root, the major third, the 4 and the 5. So now we got to make that third minor. So in addition to all of the cool variations that we've already gone over, what if we play root, minor third, bend that 4th into the 5th, then let off that bend and go right to that minor third, and then down to the root. Now we've got that classic Stevie Ray Vaughan, Albert King sounding lick. Let's take that one step further. We're going to combine that Gary Moore lick with the Stevie Ray Vaughan lick. Check this out. Man, now we're talking. Okay, so that's major and minor. How about some modal sounds? I mentioned earlier that each major or minor mode has a key note that gives it its particular sound or flavor compared to the other major and minor modes. So how about Lydian? Lydian is just the major scale with the fourth degree raised half a step. So C Lydian has an F sharp instead of an F as the fourth degree. One cool thing is that we can still use our first cell, which had the intervals 5, 1, 2, 3. So here's sort of a Lydian sounding progression. I'm going to play a D over C and then back to C. Here's our first cell. And we can take our second cell, which was 1, 3, 4, 5, and change that to 1, 3, sharp 4, 5. And we can go up to the major third. What if we play the major third, sharp 4, 5, and major 7? That's straight out of my favorite Lydian sounding tune, Flying in a Blue Dream by Joe Satriani. And of course, you can go anywhere from there, but you've got these awesome little melodic statements to build with now. Mixolydian is another major mode. So the difference between that and the major scale is that we take the major 7, which is a B note, and we flatten it 1 fret. So the B goes to B flat. And of course, Mixolydian works over dominant 7 chords. One of the coolest melodic cells to my ears is actually the second inversion of a dominant 7 arpeggio. And that would have the intervals 5, flat 7, root, and major third, or G, B flat, C, and E. Right above that, what if we play the flat 7, the root, the 3, and the 4? B flat, C, E, and F. And again with Mixolydian, we could play the root, major third, 4th, and 5th. And right above that one, we've got another cell of the major third, the 4th, the 5th, and the flat 7. Check out how we can take this right up the fretboard on the E and B strings. And just think about how many different directions you could go after playing 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of these cells like this. The potential is really awesome. So how about some hip minor sounds with the Dorian mode? Without getting too far into theory, the C natural minor scale has the notes or intervals, the root, the second, the minor third, the 4th, the 5th, the flat 6th, and the flat 7th. Now to get the Dorian sound, we've got to raise that flat 6th a fret and turn it into an A natural. Now a typical Dorian progression might be a Santana-esque C minor to F type progression. Over that, how about we try the cell 5, the natural 6th, the root, and the minor third. So we've got G, A, C, and E flat. We could pair that up with the root, second, minor third, and the 5th. And let's add the second, the minor third, the 5th, and the 6th. So we had D, E flat, G, and A. So that all fits together very nicely up the fretboard. And there's so many different ways we could go from any of these cells. We could string them together, we could play any one of them up or down the fretboard in multiple octaves, we could change around the order of the intervals. It's all up to you and your creativity. So those are melodic cells, just a fantastic device to help you build guitar solos. But deeper than that, I hope you can hear how we're focusing in on the essence of different scales and modes and putting together groups of intervals that really create that sound. Take this stuff, go be awesome with it. Do me a favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel. I'm putting out a video every week to help you make sense of soloing. Check out the link in the description below if you're into the blues. I've got a course that's all about mastering pentatonic scales in the blues realm. And as always, thanks for watching. Work hard, play hard, have fun, never stop learning. Go forth and kick some butt on your guitar. Bye.